209th meeting of the National Council on the Arts is now in session. I'm Maria Rosario Jackson, Chair of the National Endowment for the Arts. I'm a middle-aged woman with dark, curly, short hair. I'm wearing glasses. I'm wearing a black jacket and a dark top. Welcome, members of the National Council on the Arts, arts leaders, NEA staff, and members of the public to the Oprah Winfrey Theater at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. For the record, our National Council on the Arts members joining us today, many here in person and some virtually, are Ishmael Ahmed of Michigan, Bidta Becker of Navajo Nation, Bruce Carter of Florida, Gretchen Gonzalez Davidson of Michigan, Aaron Dworkin of Michigan, Camilla Forbes of New York, Paul Hodes of Maine, Emil Kang of New York, Maria Lopez de Leon of Texas, Huáscar Medina of Kansas, Christopher Morgan of Hawaii, Fiona Whelan Prine of Tennessee, Connie Williams of Pennsylvania. And I would like to welcome Michael Lombardo of California to his first council meeting. Michael is a new member of the National Council on the Arts who was confirmed by the Senate in September. And with the addition of Michael, we have a fully seated council of 18 for the first time since the council expanded from 14 to 18 in 2009. For the record, council members not able to join us today are Deepa Gupta, Keenan Azme, and Rani Ramaswamy. The National Endowment for the Arts, which was established by Congress in 1965 and signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson, is charged with making the arts available to all Americans. We're a funder, a grant maker, and also a national resource to help bolster arts, design, and culture in all communities. The National Council on the Arts advises on agency policies, programs, and grants. For our first order of business, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the June 2022 and October 2022 council meetings?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce Ayanna Hudson, Chief Strategy Programs and Engagement Officer at the NEA.
Good morning, everyone. I'm an African American, middle-aged female. I have long, dark hair with bangs. I'm wearing glasses, red lipstick, and a black blouse with black and gold pants, and I use she, her pronouns. And good morning, council members. Good morning. We will proceed with the application review section of the agenda. The tally of the votes will be announced at the end of today's session. The council will be voting by ballot today on award recommendations totaling more than $118 million in 3 funding areas: grants for arts projects, state and regional partnerships, and national initiatives. These funding recommendations are found in the corresponding sections of the council book. For your vote to be tallied, you must be either present in the room, on the telephone line, or joining the meeting via video conference at the time of the motion, discussion, and vote. Council members joining us by phone or via teleconference, you must email your votes to Kim Jefferson in this category immediately at the conclusion of this part of the meeting. Council members' affiliations are recorded in the council book and will be attached to your ballots, and each member has been provided an opportunity to update this information prior to the council meeting. Council members are recorded as not voting on applications with which they are affiliated. This list becomes part of the agency's official record. After brief summaries of the funding areas, council members will have an opportunity to ask questions about the recommendations before voting by ballot. May I have a motion to consider the recommended grants and rejections under grants for arts projects, state and regional partnerships, and national initiatives in the council book?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Now we'll summarize the funding areas on which you will be voting and then pause for any comments or questions from council members. The Grants for Arts Projects, or GAP category, is the principal grants program of the National Endowment for the Arts. Through project-based funding, the program supports public engagement with and access to various forms of art all across the nation, the creation of excellent art, learning in the arts at all stages of life, and the integration of the arts into the fabric of community life. GAP encourages projects that use the arts to unite and heal in response to current events, as well as elevate artists as integral and essential to a healthy and vibrant society, celebrate America's creativity and our cultural heritage, and enrich our humanity by broadening our understanding of ourselves as individuals and as a society. Projects recommended today comprise the second group of grant applications brought to the Council this fiscal year. The first half was considered at the October 2022 meeting. In July 2022, the agency received 1,928 eligible applications requesting more than $98 million in FY23 support. Recommended for the Council's approval are 1,133 projects totaling more than $31.1 million. Grants are recommended to nearly 59% of all applicants, with amounts ranging from $10,000 to $100,000. Recommended projects span 13 disciplines and fields. Direct grants are recommended to 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. Are there any questions or comments from the Council? If not, please mark your ballot. State and regional partnerships assist the nation's state arts agencies and regional arts organizations in their support for the arts. And by law, 40% of Arts Endowment appropriated program funds are awarded in this way. State arts agencies will utilize NEA support in combination with state appropriated funding to support arts organizations, schools, and artists in producing arts projects in communities across the country. This year, $55 million is being recommended for the states and $11.6 million for the regions. Are there any questions or comments from the Council? If not, please mark your ballot. National initiatives support a wide variety of projects of national and field-wide significance. At this meeting, the Council is requested to approve funding for projects totaling more than $18.9 million in 11 fields or disciplines. Support is requested for an arts education initiative, the Arts Education Partnership, or AEP. The AEP demonstrates and promotes the essential role of the arts in enabling every student to succeed in school and prepare for life and work in the 21st century. The Citizens Institute for Rural Design, which enhances the quality of life and economic viability of small towns and rural communities through workshops focused on planning, design, and creative placemaking. The Creative Forces NEA Military Healing Arts Network, which provides creative arts therapies and arts engagement activities in clinical and community settings for service members, veterans, and families. Renewal of the National Folk Life Network, a new initiative to bolster the folk and traditional arts field through training, fieldwork, convenings, community collaborations, and cultural asset mapping. The production and management of public events for the National Endowment for the Arts National Heritage Fellowship Program, which annually honors American folk and traditional artists or groups of artists for their contribution to our national cultural mosaic. 3 projects and international activities. The Performing Arts Global Exchange, a program designed to provide broader access to the work of international artists and art forms less frequently seen outside of major urban centers in the United States. The Performing Arts Discovery Program, an initiative to introduce international presenters to U.S. performing artists and companies, thereby reducing barriers for American artists to perform overseas. And U.S. Artists International, a program showcasing the excellence, diversity, and vitality of U.S. artists and arts organizations at international arts markets and other significant cultural events around the world. The renewal of 2 of the agency's signature national initiatives in literary arts, the NEA Big Read and Poetry Out Loud. A cooperative agreement to support the production and management of the NEA Jazz Master Ceremony and Tribute Concert, which honors the National Endowment for the Arts Jazz Masters Fellows. The 2024 class of NEA Jazz Masters Fellows, 58 recommendations in our town, which help transform American communities into lively, beautiful, and resilient places with the arts at their core. The NEA Pilot Equity Initiative, a program to advance the National Endowments for the Arts' commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, and to fulfill the agency's mission to advance equitable opportunities for arts participation and practice. The renewal of 7 National Endowment for the Arts research labs, which focus on the arts, creativity, cognition, and learning, as well as the arts, health, and social and emotional well-being, and the renewal of the Sound Health Network Initiative, which regularly will convene experts in music, neuroscience, health, and wellness, and will identify and promote research findings, and Shakespeare in American Communities, in which professional theater companies will bring performances and educational activities to middle and high school students all across the country. Are there any comments or questions from the council? If not, please mark your ballot. Council members, you may now email your votes to Kim Jefferson on those categories. And finally, we turn our attention to the projects in the award update section. These grants have been awarded under the chairman's delegated authority and are brought to the council's attention at this meeting, but no vote is necessary. Included are 262 Challenge America grants totaling $2,620,000, which will extend the reach of the visual, performing, and literary arts activities in underserved communities across the country, and one 20% amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayanna. I'll take the next few minutes to share some updates since our last meeting in October. This meeting provides us with a timely opportunity to focus on the NEA's work to strengthen the arts and cultural sector, honor our nation's artists and culture bearers, and advance culture and the arts throughout the federal government. We've organized several presentations and updates that will spotlight the role and impact of the arts in our economy, our health, our wellness, and more. I'll start with the NEA's honorific programs, as there's been a great deal of activity around them since we last met. It's been a season of celebration at the NEA as we pay tribute to our nation's artists and culture bearers. This year marks the culmination of the 40th anniversary of both the NEA National Heritage Fellowships and the NEA Jazz Masters Fellowships. In February, we announced the new class of Heritage Fellows, which is awarded for excellence in the folk and traditional arts. Heritage Fellows include musicians such as Mississippi's Hill Country bluesman, R.L. Boyce, Texan Tejano performer Little Joe Hernandez, and pipa player Wu Man from California. In addition, there are craftspeople such as Ed Eugene Carrier, a Suquamish basket maker from Washington State, Elizabeth James Perry, a fiber artist of the Wampanoag tribe of Gayhead Aquina in Massachusetts, Luis Tapia, a sculptor in the Hispano woodcarving tradition from New Mexico, and Michael A. Cummings, a quilter in the African American tradition from New York. Nick Spitzer, a folklife presenter, educator, and radio producer, is receiving the Bess Hawes Advocacy Award. This is an excellent and inspiring group of honorees. Tomorrow night at the Kennedy Center, we will celebrate the recent class of Jazz Masters, which is awarded for excellence in the jazz field. Our honorees are Regina Carter, Kenny Garrett, and Lewis Hayes. Sue Mingus, who was awarded the A.B. Spellman Advocacy Award, sadly passed away last September and will be represented by her son and granddaughter. Let's take a moment to preview a little of the magic we can expect tomorrow night. Additionally, tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, NPR will host a listening party in honor of the 2023 NEA Jazz Masters at their headquarters here in Washington, D.C. Hosted by NPR's Felix Contreras, this event will include conversations with and about the NEA Jazz Masters, using music from their careers to tell the stories of their lives. These events are sold out, but you can visit arts.gov to find out about getting standby tickets or to watch the concert live streamed. Last week, President Biden awarded the National Medals of Arts and National Humanities Medals. National Medals of Arts, the highest honor that the federal government offers to artists, were awarded to 12 artists, art supporters, and arts organizations. The National Medal of Arts recipients have helped to define our cultural legacy. Through their lifelong commitment and passion, our nation is better. Their work helps us see the world in new and different ways. The medal recipients were Judith Francisca Baca, Fred Eichner, Jose Feliciano, Mindy Kaling, Gladys Knight, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Antonio Martorell Cardona, Joan Shigegawa, Bruce Springsteen, Vera Wang, the Billie Holiday Theater, and the International Association of Blacks in Dance. Here's a short clip from President Biden about the medalists.
Democracy is a choice. It's a choice we make to choose union over disunion, progress over chaos, and literally truth over lies. A choice to remember history, not erase it, no matter how hard it is that people try to sometimes erase it. We're a nation, a great nation, in large part because of the power of the arts and humanities. That's stamped into the DNA of America. We continue the legacy of awarding two of our nation's highest honors to 23 extraordinary Americans. The National Medal of the Arts to honor outstanding contributions to the excellence, growth, support, and availability of arts in the United States, and the National Humanities Medal to honor those whose work has deepened the nation's understanding of the humanities and broadened our citizens' engagement with history, literature, philosophy, and so many other subjects. The work of our honorees is as diverse as the nation celebrates with them today. But common threads weave them together in many ways in the very fabric of America. Pursuit of excellence, the drive to create, the yearning to connect, and the boldness to be truth tellers, bridge builders, and change seekers.
It's important to recognize the contributions of artists to our nation's vitality as we come out of a few years that have required us all to challenge our orthodoxies about so many things. The arts sector has been hit hard, without question, and acknowledging this, we must also see this as a time of possibility as we imagine what a new version of the sector can be. Our arts ecosystems, much like our natural ecosystems, are shifting and require new ways of working. While the NEA continues to be a funder, a grant-making organization, which is how we're best known, we're also leaning into our role as a national resource, one which bolsters the creativity and healthy arts ecosystems and contributes to building healthy communities where all people can thrive. Conducting and commissioning research on the value and impact of the arts and the state of the sector is one of the core functions of the NEA. Having a better understanding of the state of the arts, what we have learned from the pandemic, and how we can better serve the field and the American people ensures that all people can benefit from arts, culture, and design. This month, the NEA and the Bureau of Economic Analysis released data that shows the vital contribution of the arts to cultural industries in the United States. In a few minutes, Sunil Iyengar, Director of Research and Analysis at the NEA, will discuss the BEA numbers in detail. While understanding that the value of the arts through its economic impact is an important metric, it's not the only metric we use. We must also look at how the arts intersect with all aspects of our lives. The idea of understanding and advancing the arts in all areas of policy and practice is one I've been talking about as I travel across the country. It requires animating work at the intersections of arts and education, community development, climate, and more, including very important work at the intersection of health and well-being. and this often involves partnerships with other federal agencies. In February, National Endowment for the Humanities Chair Shelley Lowe and I made our first joint agency trip to Puerto Rico. There we met with arts and cultural organizations. We gained a better sense of what's happening in the creative community throughout Puerto Rico, how the arts and culture support individual and community health and well-being, and we also learned how we can continue to work together to strengthen these efforts. In Puerto Rico, we were able to meet with our state-level colleagues at Instituto de Cultura Puertorriqueña, the Governor of Puerto Rico, the Honorable Pedro Pierluisi Urrutia, and discuss the NEA's work with FEMA on disaster response and recovery and preservation. We heard great praise for NEA staff who've worked with colleagues in Puerto Rico for years, and great appreciation for the NEA in general. When I visited Atlanta earlier this month, we discussed work at the intersection of arts and infrastructure at a roundtable with leaders from the arts, transportation, planning, and community development. We also visited with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the CDC Foundation, partners with the NEA on an initiative at the intersection of arts and public health. The initiative, involving 30 organizations, was focused specifically on vaccine readiness around the country. We had the opportunity to debrief about the collaboration and participate in the opening of an exhibition at the CDC Museum that presented artwork from the initiative. We were also able to plant seeds for another collaboration with the CDC, and they're really excited to continue work with us. One of the NEA's major national initiatives, Creative Forces, which places creative arts therapies at the core of patient-centered care at clinical sites for military and veteran populations, is in partnership with the Departments of Defense and Veterans Affairs. We'll hear more about Creative Forces from Bill O'Brien, the director of the program, shortly. We've also been working with the National Institutes of Health, the Kennedy Center, and the University of California, San Francisco on the Sound Health Network, which promotes research and public awareness about the impact of music on health and wellness. And we've partnered with numerous units of the federal government since 2011 on the Arts and Human Development Task Force to encourage more and better research on how the arts can help people reach their full potential at all stages of life. Just a couple of weeks ago, I visited the offices of one of those partners, Health and Human Services, and met with Rear Admiral Paul Reed, director of HHS's Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion. We discussed the federal plan for equitable long-term recovery and resilience. This is a whole-of-government initiative for improving individual and community resilience and well-being nationwide. It includes access to arts and culture being highlighted as a key element throughout the plan. I'm proud to say that we are building quite a portfolio of work at the intersection of arts and health and well-being, learning from mature efforts like the Creative Forces work and exploring a wide range of ways in which the arts contribute to healthy and thriving communities. Last fall, President Biden issued an all-of-government executive order recognizing the contributions of arts and humanities on the health and well-being of the nation and on the future of democracy itself. This is another vital step in understanding and further animating how the arts intersect with all aspects of our lives and how necessary they are for our well-being. That executive order also stood up the President's Committee on Arts and Humanities. Sion Wald-Michael was announced as the executive director of PICA recently, and I'm hopeful that the executive order and the work with Sion bolsters our work at the intersection of arts and other sectors in ways that are known and surprising. Lastly, our work with regional arts organizations and state arts agencies is growing, becoming more strategic and collaborative. We've convened arts service organizations and participated in the conferences and meetings of organizations like the Association of Performing Arts Professionals, the National Conference of Mayors, and others that are core to our work and mission. Now we have some presentations for you on some important NEA initiatives. I'd like to introduce Lauren Miller, the Program Manager for Poetry Out Loud, to lead our first presentation. Welcome, Lauren.
Hello, everyone. I am a white woman with medium brown hair. I'm wearing a gold blouse with a black cardigan with flowers on it. It is my pleasure today to introduce Oscar Lantas-Samano, third place award winner at the 2022 Poetry Out Loud National Finals. As many of you know, Poetry Out Loud is a partnership of the National Endowment for the Arts, the Poetry Foundation, and the state and jurisdictional arts agencies. This national program encourages the study of great poetry by offering free educational materials in a dynamic recitation contest for high school students across the country. For the past 2 years, we have held the national contest virtually, and this year we are so excited to hold the finals back in person from May 8th through 10th at Lisner Auditorium on George Washington University's campus in DC. If you haven't experienced a Poetry Out Loud contest yourself, students select and memorize poems from classic to contemporary and bring them to life in performance. And today, we are so lucky to experience the magic of poetry being brought to life by Oscar. Oscar is from Flagstaff, Arizona, and was the 2022 Arizona State Champion before placing in the top 3 at the national finals. He is currently a student at Columbia University in New York City, studying psychology and cognitive science. His passions include whitewater rafting, poetry, and advocating for the Latin community in STEM and humanities. Please join me in welcoming Oscar.
Hello and good morning. First of all, I want to thank the council members for inviting me here today. I never imagined me performing in another stage after Poetry Out Loud, so it's nice to relive this. I'm going to perform a poem that's very near and dear to my heart. It's called 100 Love Sonnets, number 17, by Pablo Neruda, translated by Mark Eisner. I don't love you as if you were a rose of salt, topaz, or arrow of carnations that propagate fire. I love you as one loves certain obscure things, secretly, between the shadow and the soul. I love you as the plant that doesn't bloom, but holds the light of those flowers hidden within itself. And thanks to your love, the tight aroma that arose from the earth lives dimly in my body. I love you without knowing how, or when, or from where. I love you directly without problems or pride. I love you like this because I don't know any other way to love, except in this form in which I am not, nor are you, so close that your hand upon my chest is mine. So close that your eyes close with my dreams. Thank you. This poem is special to me because it was the first poem that I ever presented in front of a crowd. It was actually the poem that introduced me to Poetry Out Loud, to the National Endowment for the Arts, and introduced me to a world of literacy and literature that I probably wouldn't have ever had. I'm a first-generation American. My parents are from Mexico. They immigrated here in the 1990s. And I didn't get the opportunity to really connect with language and English as many of my peers do. While I grew up in a community filled with culture and vibrance, I didn't have that literature. But Poetry Out Loud connected me to that. Back then, I didn't read. But now I'm reading literature masterpieces like Homer and Homer, really? Like, who would have expected me to read Homer or Dante? But because of these programs and because of Poetry Out Loud in specific, I'm reading this and I'm enjoying it and I'm loving it and I'm writing my own poetry. And who knows, maybe I'll get to perform that one day. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Oscar, thank you for that beautiful performance and for your story. And Lauren, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council?
Chair Jackson.
Yes.
This is Bitta Becker.
Yes.
And I just live up the road from where Oscar grew up, and he grew up in Flagstaff. I just want to. I live in Fort Defiance, Oscar, and I just wanted to congratulate you and encourage you to consider coming back to rural northern Arizona when you finish your studies at Columbia.
Thanks for that, Bitta. Anyone else?
I just wanted to say thank you, Oscar, for that, and your work and testimony was quite an inspiration. Thank you.
Great. Next, I'd like to bring up Sunil Iyengar, Director of NEA's Office of Research and Analysis, to discuss our partnership with the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis and what their arts and culture data tells us this year. Sunil, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and hello, council members. I'm a middle-aged man with glasses and a charcoal pinstripe suit and a silk paisley tie. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you today about the latest stats from the Bureau of Economic Analysis about how the arts economy has been performing since the arrival of COVID. These numbers are the most recent and reliable data we have of the arts' contributions to the economy and employment and the growth or decline of various industries within that sector. I think as you heard the chair say, this is just one metric we have of characterizing the benefits of the arts for individuals and communities. But this analysis actually also aligns with a couple of priorities on the NEA's 5-year research agenda to identify measurable impacts of the arts on U.S. economic growth and innovation, but also to examine how U.S. arts ecosystems are adapting and responding to social, economic, and technological challenges. So last week, as you heard, President Biden awarded a National Medal of the Arts to one of my former bosses, Joan Shigekawa. In bestowing the honor, the president credited Joan with helping to, quote, measure how the arts grow the economy. He was alluding to this unique data source made possible through a partnership between the NEA and the BEA. It tracks the entire arts and cultural sector at the industry and commodity level. The numbers allow us to report what's called the value added of arts and culture to GDP. So this refers to the gross output of each arts and cultural industry minus intermediate inputs such as costs of energy or raw materials. We also use these numbers to analyze sector employment, import and export rates, and consumer spending patterns in the arts. So let's turn to the 2021 numbers. Again, that's the most recent year we have data for. That year, for the first time in the account's history, arts and cultural industries contributed more than $1 trillion to the nation's economy, representing 4.4% of GDP. And from the prior year, 2020, economic activity for the arts grew in 2021 by 13.7%. That's more than twice as fast as the growth rate for the total economy that year, 5.9%. To take a longer view, here's how the size of the arts economy has shifted each year since 2017. On this line chart, you see that the year-over-year level of change was on the positive side of the ledger until 2020. That year, of course, because of the pandemic, the sector contracted by about 5%. But then in 2021, we see the arts climb 17 points to a nearly 14% growth rate. In fact, a total of 22 out of all 35 arts industries contributed economic value exceeding that of their 2020 and 2019 levels. So what's accounting for this growth? Here are a cluster of industries for which their 2021 performance either met or exceeded their 2019 rates. For each of the arts industries on this slide, the topmost orange bars are the 2021 amounts of value added to the economy. The middle black bars are 2020, and the lower blue bars are 2019, the pre-pandemic year. In each of these cases, the orange bar, the 2021 bar, is longer than or about the same length as the blue bar, or 2019. What you see are a few things. First, web publishing and web streaming of arts content, those 3 bars on top. This is not only the single largest arts industry in the account, it also has grown at the fastest rate since before the pandemic. In inflation-adjusted dollars, it's over $171 billion in 2021. Now, there are several other industries that also showed growth during the pandemic, even if at more modest rates. Note that the majority of these industries are heavily concentrated in the commercial sector. So in addition to web streaming and web publishing, you have regular publishing, movies, creative advertising, arts retail, and though it's not on this chart, broadcasting. But you also have government, not only federal, state, and local arts agencies, but also arts education in public schools, government-run museums and libraries, arts and parks, and other cultural support. These all have basically held steady from 2019 to 2021. Finally, you also have performing arts presenting organizations, or venues, which after taking a major hit in 2020 are back to their 2019 levels in aggregate, as are non-government-run museums. On the other hand, at least a third of all arts and cultural industries still are lagging behind their 2019 levels of value added, despite experiencing growth between 2020 and 2021. At the top of this list here is an industry called independent artists, writers, and performers. These are artist-led establishments with at least 1 worker on payroll. Here you'll want to look at the top 3 bars. In this chart, the 2019 bar, the blue one, is longer than the orange bar, which is 2021. This is also the case, though to a lesser extent, for performing arts organizations, which regained some ground in 2020, but still are behind their 2019 level of value added. Smaller industries, such as fine arts schools and custom architectural woodwork and metalwork, are also in this category. So these are 2 industries that saw declines in both 2020 and 2021. One is arts-related construction, that is the building or renovating of arts and cultural facilities. The value added for this industry has plunged by 26%, down from $13 billion in 2019. The other industry shown here is grant-making and giving services in the arts. It's a much smaller industry than construction, but even so, it slipped by 21% in terms of value added over the same period. Now we turn to another key component of the BEA account. It's data on workers employed by arts and cultural industries. Since 2020, this workforce grew by 5% to 4.9 million in 2021. That compares with a 3% rate increase for all U.S. workers over the same period. At the same time, it's still under the 5.1 million workers employed by arts and cultural industries in 2019. In fact, just as we saw that a majority of arts industries had their value added increase over 2019 levels, the opposite is true of employment. In 2021, 23 out of 35 arts industries were employing fewer workers than the pre-pandemic year, and no single state has returned to 2019 arts employment levels. Here you can see the general pattern. In terms of employment, movies and video regained some ground in 2021 after slipping in 2020, but still lagged the 2019 employment level of 394,000 workers. But the decline is more severe for performing arts organizations, arts construction, and performing arts presenters. Again, look at the difference between the blue bar, which is 2019, and the orange bar, which is 2021. So to sum up the national findings, excuse me, I think it went too fast. Perhaps not. Okay, it should be here. There should be another slide here. Okay, that's okay. Sum up the national findings. First, as we saw, most arts and cultural industries generated more economic activity in 2021 than in the 2 previous years. But there were some big exceptions. Among those are artist-led organizations with at least 1 worker on payroll and performing arts companies, which did not see this growth from the pre-pandemic year of 2019. We also saw that fewer salaried workers were employed by arts and cultural industries in 2021 than in 2019. Industries exemplifying this pattern were the motion picture and video industries and performing arts companies and performing arts presenters or venues. But let's step back and remember that the top line 2021 figure in terms of the economic contributions of the arts was a record high of $1 trillion. And as I said, the sector experienced massive growth from 2020 to 21. So why didn't the employment numbers go up commensurately? So some of the answer to that question may be technological efficiencies, such as those that have improved productivity for other sectors while requiring lower levels of labor. But I want to submit another factor as well. This account captures the economic contributions of all arts and cultural industries, regardless of what mix of salaried and non-salaried workers are powering it. But the account does not report the number of self-employed workers by those industries. The employment numbers I've shown are for salaried workers only, so it's possible that the arts sector relied increasingly on self-employed artists and other workers, such as through contracts, to boost their productivity over the period getting out of COVID. By using other data sources, we already estimate that in aggregate, self-employed artists, writers, and performers generated nearly $24 billion in revenue in 2019, but that 90% of these entities each pulled revenue only of under $50,000 that year. Another hidden variable in all this is nonprofit organizations. The data do not allow us to identify the unique economic value associated with nonprofits, as the account combines for-profit and nonprofit establishments in industry reporting. But we estimate, again using other data sources, that nonprofit performing arts companies employ 64% of all workers in the performing arts industry, while nonprofit museums employ 95% of all workers in that industry. Beyond their relevance to jobs, nonprofit organizations in the arts, at their best, seed innovations that are later adopted or promoted by the commercial sector, whether we're talking about maker spaces or arts incubators, indie films, or theater productions, to name a few. Besides, as part of their public service mission, nonprofit arts groups carry a quest for greater access to arts and cultural opportunities, and it is providing just this support that is one of the strongest claims to the NEA's own public benefit. So I encourage you, if you're at all interested, to head to one of various websites where you can mine the data further. The NEA and BEA host fact sheets and infographics about these data, not only at the US level, but for every state. And through a partnership with the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies, we provide interactive data tools to track creative economies at the state level. So in closing, I'd just like to extend my thanks to the entire Office of Research and Analysis and our colleagues at the BEA, and in particular to thank Patricia Mullaney-Loss, who conducted the in-depth analysis that produced most of the stats I was able to share with you today. Thanks, Mary Lieb, too.
Thank you, Sunil. Thanks, Sunil, and thank you to your team. Is there any question or comment from council? All right, thank you so much. All right, for our third presentation, I'd like to introduce Bill O'Brien, Director of the Creative Forces Initiative, to discuss updates on the program. Welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Chair Jackson, Council. Hi, I'm Bill O'Brien. I'm the Senior Advisor for Innovation and the Director of Creative Forces for the National Endowment for the Arts. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a middle-aged white male with grayish-brown hair, a light beard, and blue eyes. I'm also very pleased to be here today to provide some general updates on Creative Forces' NEA Military Healing Arts Network. Creative Forces is a national initiative of the National Endowment for the Arts in partnership with the Departments of Defense and Veterans Affairs that seeks to advance health, well-being, and quality of life for military and veteran populations exposed to trauma, including families and caregivers. The initiative includes three primary components: clinical, community, and capacity building to support activities being carried out across our Healing Arts Network. Our clinical program, carried out through a partnership with the Henry M. Jackson Foundation for the Advancement of Military Medicine, places creative arts therapies, including art therapy, music therapy, and dance movement therapy, at the core of patient-centered care. These activities are carried out at military, medical, and Veteran Health Administration facilities across the nation. The program began as a partnership with the National Intrepid Center of Excellence at the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland in 2012. Since then, the clinical programs have expanded to support creative arts therapies, a creative arts therapies network that spans across 7 DoD and 5 VA clinics across the country. In the DoD, the program places creative arts therapies in integrative patient-centered care to support patients with traumatic brain injuries and associated psychological health conditions, including PTSD. While in the VA, the program provides dedicated support for rural and remote veterans through a telehealth services partnership with the VA's Office of Rural Health. More recently, the initiative has expanded to include support for arts engagement efforts designed to promote health and well-being for military-connected populations through non-clinical, community-based arts engagement activities. In partnership with the Mid-America Arts Alliance, last year we announced the first round of our Creative Forces Community Engagement Grants. 26 projects were funded in this first round and are currently being carried out across the country. This photo shows Chair Jackson on a site visit to one of these projects, along with colleagues from the Alabama State Arts Council and Kimberly Kirkland from the University of Alabama Birmingham Arts and Medicine program. The project, titled Creative Arts for Birmingham Veterans, is being carried out via partnership of the university's Arts and Medicine program and the Birmingham VA's healthcare system. The project includes 4 6-week virtual arts workshops that will serve 4 previously established whole health veteran groups. These groups will be afforded an opportunity to explore expressive writing, visual art making, and movement exercises, all designed to support broader health goals of the participating patients and the VA's whole health program. Panels are currently reviewing applications for our second round of funding, with the next round of grants being announced later this spring. And guidelines for applications for the next round of funding will go live around Veterans Day this fall. Through a partnership with the Americans for the Arts and Civic Arts, Creative Forces also invests in capacity building efforts, including the development of toolkits, training materials, and online national resource center to support best practices in serving these targeted populations. Creative Forces is also dedicated to advancing research to improve our understanding on the impacts and benefits the arts can bring to advance health and well-being across clinical and community settings. In our clinical research efforts, with guidance and support from the NEA's Office of Research and Analysis, has focused on impacts and benefits, physical, social, and emotional, of our creative arts therapies treatment methods. Since 2016, we have published 22 clinical research studies in peer-reviewed journals that are helping to shed light on how these innovative treatment methods can enable recovery and lead to improved awareness and reduced symptoms of PTSD by creating a safe space for creative expression and meaningful interaction with others. Key findings from our research so far have shown that through these treatments, participants have been able to address anger and anxiety, reduce isolation and stigma, and foster the ability to experience hope and gratification. This fall, in collaboration with the Henry M. Jackson Foundation, we'll be hosting a State of the Science Research Summit to explore the state of current research, including knowledge gaps, that can be addressed to inform future research, practice, and policies for creative arts therapies that support military and veteran populations. We are also preparing to conduct evaluation and investigations through our Creative Forces Community Engagement Grants that can help us understand how health and well-being for military-connected individuals can also be supported in community-based settings through the following participant outcome focus areas: enabling self-discovery through creative expression, improve social connection, increase resilience, and successful transition to civilian life. Since 2019, Creative Forces has been exploring how the approaches that have been stood up by the initiative so far could expand to support broader populations who have also been exposed to trauma. To support these investigations, we have conducted literature reviews and field scans that could inform similar efforts in areas of disaster relief, first responders, military family support, Guard and Reserve, and substance abuse. These discovery efforts have already helped to inform recently established dedicated military family support in both our clinical and community programs, and have also enhanced our ability to better understand and respond to the unique needs of our Guard and Reserve communities. We look forward to continuing our investigations on how broader impacts for expanded populations through arts-based support can be pursued in the future. For first-person accounts of the impact of this work, we'd like to invite everyone to visit our online exhibit, Creative Forces, Healing the Invisible Wounds of War. This interactive exhibition shares visual art, music, and performances by military service members and veterans who are current or former participants of our Creative Forces clinical programs. The interactive platform of the exhibit allows you to click on any of the artwork featured in the exhibit to explore additional visuals, videos, and statements about each piece from both the patient artists and the creative arts therapists who contributed to the gallery. The exhibition also includes first-person accounts from the artists about their experiences with creative arts therapies and the effects these treatments have had on their lives. So what better way to conclude this discussion than by passing the mic over to some of our foremost experts on the impacts that the arts can have to help heal and improve our lives. We're pleased to share this video from the Pathways of Healing section of our exhibit, featuring military and veteran graduates from our clinical creative arts therapies programs, sharing their personal experiences of how these treatments have created platforms to experience newfound hope and gratification.
All of those kinds of things, kind of came out in the artistic process, but also dealing with it did, and accepting those things and understanding and growing from those things. It's probably the only meaning art and art therapy, or probably one of the only things that I've had in my life that I would equate to post-traumatic growth.
And now that I can reflect back on that, I could give myself some advice and say, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna go through some things, but you're not by yourself.
My therapist was able to introduce me to that and really show me where I was able to heal by utilizing music, was able to heal by utilizing the arts. I was able to see it, feel it, and I knew it made me better.
So that concludes the presentation. We would invite everyone to go to creativeforcesnrc.arts.gov, subscribe in order to stay informed of all future efforts of Creative Forces, including announcements that will be coming around Veterans Day, both for the next round of community engagement grants and for our State of the Science Clinical Research Summit. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from council?
I'd like to. I just want to thank you, Bill,
for the work you're doing for Creative Forces. As a son from a service man in the military, the impact you're having is wonderful, especially in the region where I'm at. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm a son of a combat veteran myself, and it's been a real privilege, really, to be working with the DoD and the VA in this capacity.
Any other comments?
Yeah. I come from a family of veterans, most of who were veterans from the Vietnam War. My brother died from Agent Orange poisoning and complications. The work you're doing is really, really important. So thank you and all the folks who are involved in this work.
Thank you. And one of my favorite authors, Mark Twain, said, and to get the full value of a joy, you have to divide it with someone. And in this case, we have such great partners, Mid-America Arts Alliance, Henry M. Jackson Foundation for Advancement of Military Medicine, Civic Arts, and Americans for the Arts. But especially, we have between the DoD and the VA and us, we're supporting around 28 creative arts therapists now across that clinical network. And it's been really exciting to expand that into community settings because, some of the themes that you've heard, especially at the end here, about the sense of connection to others and the healing impacts that have. I think we're all feeling that just being on a team doing this kind of work.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks again. And as the final piece of business, I'm pleased to announce that the National Council on the Arts has reviewed the applications presented to them and that a tally of council members' ballots revealed that all recommendations for funding and rejection have passed. So thank you to the council, our speakers, our guests here in DC and online, and to the staff of the National Endowment for the Arts who worked so hard to get to this point. Thank you. I also want to thank the staff of the National Museum of African American History and Culture for allowing us to use this wonderful space for our meeting. Before we close out, I want to share that our next council meeting will take place in New Orleans, Louisiana in June. We're excited to be holding our meeting in a region known for its rich, diverse, and unique cultural traditions, a place that has nurtured so many great artists, some of whom we've been honored to feature in our NEA programs. We look forward to meeting with our colleagues at the Louisiana Division of the Arts and Arts Council New Orleans to learn more about how the arts have been innovating and meeting challenges at the state and local level. And now to give you a taste of what to expect, we'll hear from two artists steeped in the rich culture of Louisiana, 2022 NEA Jazz Master Donald Harrison Jr. and 2021 NEA Heritage Fellows, the Winsboro Easter Rock Ensemble. Mr. Harrison talks about being immersed in the culture and music of New Orleans when he was growing up and how it became an important part of who he is. And ensemble leader Hattie Addison explains the importance of maintaining the Easter Rock tradition, a rare woman-led African-American traditional spiritual ritual rooted in both Christian worship and the West African ring shout tradition and documented only in Northeast Louisiana Delta region. So let's watch.
New Orleans is a great city. Growing up here, being part of the culture and listening to the music, in my opinion, gives you a different idea of what music is. Because music is part of everyday life here. My father, of course, was part of the culture. He brought me around the old timers that were connected to antiquity. And I didn't realize what that meant until I started playing music. When I was in high school, I read a statement by Charlie Parker where he said, "If you don't live it, it won't come out of your horn." And I said to myself, you come from New Orleans, so you can get the whole history of music inside of you, like Charlie Parker said.
I have so many generations that's now rocking, so many friends from different areas in Winsboro, Louisiana, and we continue the tradition. We love it. We know what it means. We are rocking to a risen Savior, and we just thank the Lord that we'll continue in His name. And I'm just going to carry it on until I can't do it anymore. Maybe my daughter or my sister here, grandchildren, some of them may carry it on.
So recognizing and investing in places that have provided so much cultural vitality to our nation is part of our work. So please plan to tune in for our June council meeting. We hope that you'll continue to follow work of the NEA on social media and join us tomorrow at the Kennedy Center for the NEA Jazz Masters Tribute Concert. The 209th meeting of the National Council on the Arts is now adjourned.